Bonjour, comment ça va, dear parishioners and friends? I'm very glad to meet you today to speak about a conversion story of a saint. As I always told you, that these conversion stories that we are talking every day is not to dig into the past of the saints to know the wrongdoings, but rather to understand and help us to have conversion in our own lives. How these saints, whom we consider very holy today, also had a very difficult past, but through the intervention of God's grace and mercy, they too had a conversion in their lives and became a saint today. And today they are a model for us that we can follow them, have conversion in our lives, and come closer to God, especially during the season of Lent. Do you know a friend or a family member who has a drinking problem? Drinking alcohol is a very common thing in any culture and any parts of the world. There are so many occasions where people do consume alcohol or have drinks at a social gathering or at a party or at celebrations or at home when we meet with the friends. There are many occasions where we do have drinks and we do consume alcohol. It is okay as long as it stays in limit. But we know from our experiences in our lives that there are many people who have difficulties to know their limit and consume excessive alcohol and ruin their health, their wealth, their family, and the community and society as well. Therefore, we know excessive drinking of alcohol definitely brings distractions into someone's life and in the lives of those people who belong to them. We know from our family and in our community there are how many people who have lost their life due to the addiction of alcohol and also have ruined their life, ruined their relationships, ruined their family. In so many ways, people have lost everything due to addiction to the alcohol or due to excessive drinking problem. Is there a way out of this problem? Is there any way a person can overcome from the addiction of alcohol? Yes, we know from our own experiences in life that there is a way out of this addiction. It is possible to overcome this addiction of alcohol. We know from our experiences in our lives, there are so many people who determined to give up their alcohol, have tried and have worked on, have overcome from their alcohol problems and have stayed away sober for many years. And there are people who stayed away from drinks all their lives and have enjoyed a long life as well. But we should understand one thing. It is not a thing that you can overcome from an addiction or a difficulty in one day or overnight, but it is by working every day. It is continuous determination, prayer, and support from the family, friends will what help a person to overcome any kinds of addiction, not only drinking, but also any kinds of addictions. We need help, and as long as we are willing to work on it, we can overcome this difficulty. And today we are going to see a saint. This saint, like many other saints who had different difficulties and difficult past life, this saint whom we are going to see today also had a very difficult early life, struggling with drinking problems. When this saint realized how he was ruining his beautiful life that God had given by drinking excessive alcohol, came to his senses, realized his mistakes, and pledged to not to drink or have any kinds of alcohol, stayed away, worked on, prayed hard, and overcame his temptations and addiction problem, and lived a very holy life. And today he is on his way to sainthood. That saint who struggled with addiction of alcohol and changed and had conversion and gave up his drinking problem, became a holy person, is Venerable Matt Talbot. Venerable Matt Talbot is from Ireland, and he had a very difficult youth, that he struggled with alcoholism. He ran out of money, therefore he used to even steal from people in order to buy alcohol for himself. Venerable Matt Talbot was born on 2nd of May 1856 at Aldborough Court, Dublin, Ireland, the second eldest of 12 children of Charles and Elizabeth Talbot. He was from a poor family. His father and his elder brothers were heavy drinkers. Matt left school at the age of 12 and went to work in a wine merchant store. He very soon began sampling their wines and was considered a hopeless alcoholic by age 13. He then went to the Port and Docks Board, where he worked in the whiskey store. He frequented pubs in the city with his brothers and friends, spending most of or all of his wages and running up debts. When his wages were spent, he either borrowed or stole from the people. He pawned his clothes and boots to get money for alcohol. On one occasion, he stole a fiddle from a street entertainer and sold it to buy drink. When he was 28 years old, on one evening, he was waiting outside the pub, expecting that one of his friends will pay for his drink. He waited for a long time. No one offered him a drink, or no one even invited him. Everyone rejected and neglected him. He had absolutely no money in his hand to buy a drink for himself. Desperately, he went back home and promised his mother that he will take a pledge not to drink for 3 months. And at the end of the 3 months, after long struggles and penance and patience, he overcome 3 months without drinking, without having a drink. After 3 months, he again took a pledge for 6 months not to have any drinks. And he was successful for another 6 months by prayer, penance, fasting, and sacrifice. He abstained from taking alcohol. Then, after the 6 month, he stayed for lifetime not consuming alcohol. For 40 more years, he never drank alcohol. That is how his prayer and holy life helped him to stay away from the alcohol. He not only stayed away from alcohol, he also went and repaid the debt he borrowed from the people. And one day he was searching for the person from whom he stole the fiddle to sell and buy drink. He couldn't find him, therefore he offered mass in the church for the person from whom he stole the fiddle. Even though Matt Talbot had a drinking problem, he was a very hard worker. He worked for a construction company, then he worked for a timber logging company. He used to take even the main job and worked very hard and was very respectful to his employers. From being an indifferent Catholic in his drinking days, Matt Talbot became increasingly devout. He lived a life of prayer, fasting, and service, trying to model himself on the 6th century Irish monks. Talbot was a generous man. Although poor himself, he gave unstintingly to neighbors and fellow workers, to charitable institutions and the church. He ate very little. After his mother's death in 1915, he lived in a small flat with a very little furniture. He slept on a plank bed with a piece of timber for a pillow. He rose at 5 a.m. every day so as to attend Mass before work. At work, whenever he had spare time, he found a quiet place to pray. He spent most of every evening on his knees. On Sundays, he attended several Masses. Many people knew the conversion story of Venerable Matt Talbot, that when he passed away, his funeral was attended by a very large crowd in the church. And people began to recognize him as a holy person, began to follow his footsteps in their lives as well. On 3rd October 1975, Pope Paul VI declared him to be Venerable Matt Talbot, which is a step on the road to his canonization as a saint. Dear friends, we understand from the conversion story of Venerable Matt Talbot that it is very hard to overcome any kind of addiction, because the severity of addiction is so hard to overcome. It keeps dragging the person back to old ways of lives. But the life experiences of Matt Talbot teach a lesson for all of us, that if we trust in God and dedicate our life in prayer, penance, and fasting, we can overcome the temptation and addiction of any kind, including alcoholism. Let us pray for the many friends and family members whom we know who are struggling with a drinking problem of any kind. Let us pray to Venerable Matt Talbot that he prays for them, that the good Lord grant them strength and courage to overcome their addictions, that they may have conversion in their lives and change their old ways of lives and begin to appreciate the beautiful life that God has given them, beautiful family, friends that God has given them, that they may give up this drinking problem and begin to live a beautiful and holy life. May God bless you and have a beautiful day.